Hey guys, welcome back to the TED Show. It's Ted Bogert, as you know. I am here with, gosh, one of the most fashionable human beings I personally know, the one and only Jamie Kalinsky with Jamie K Designs. We're going to talk about interior designing, interior design, past, present, and future, which I love. Did you know we have this quality of an interior designer right here in Central Florida? If you didn't see my post recently, you missed out and you should go look at it because Jamie had on this stunning jacket and the shoes to match, and he outshined me by 1,000%, which I loved.
I
But
wouldn't
he is
go that
a
far.
great soul with an amazing story, and I'm very excited to have you on the show. Welcome, Jamie. How are you today?
Well, thank you. I'm delighted to be here. Delighted to join you.
Well, I'm excited. You look amazing as
Thank you.
always. You
Thank
have
you.
yours much better staged in the back. I mean, I don't know what's going on in my office, but you look great as I would expect an interior designer to look. But before we get into all that, I told you before we went live that the audience loves origin story. They want to kind of know your backstory. So share a little bit with us. Kind of point A to point B. Were you always into design? Give them the 411.
I always have been into interior design, except it's kind of like when there's something so obvious in front of you and yet you don't recognize it. And uh, growing up in an affluent area, which of course, when I was there, was just boring. I didn't realize it was as affluent as it was. Seriously, you're in a bubble. You're a teenager, and I grew up in a residential community, and friends of ours had the same model home of the 8 models we had. And at 14 years old, I decided I didn't like the way they had their furniture laid out in the living room. And my friend and I moved all the furniture in the house. And when the mother came home, she's like, "Who did this?" I was like, "I did." She said, "This looks fantastic." And I'm thinking to myself, it looked a whole lot better now than it did when you started. So I guess I had my first unpaying client at 14.
So you
You know,
knew
it
then.
just,
Where did the eye
it,
come from? Where did your eye for that come from? Did it's just a gift? Like I'm always amazed when somebody can look at a room and know where things belong or don't belong and color scheme. I mean, that's outside of my realm, but I'm
mhm.
fascinated by it. So do you remember early on being moving your own furniture around in your bedroom, or did you just
Yeah,
always have this
absolutely.
knack?
I
Oh, you did.
constantly moved the furniture around in my bedroom. And it's funny, it wasn't until when I was a kid, my mom had my bedroom wallpaper that I shared with my brother. And it was in earth tones, in a pattern, in a houndstooth pattern. I still can see it today. And this was a long time ago. And I never realized the correlation of why I was always drawn to earth tones, why it was comforting to me. So it's really funny how things just like
Right.
50 years later, you're like, oh, now I get it.
Isn't it? It's
Hard to
funny
describe.
too, because people smells and tastes and what they see, it can bring you comfort. I can still picture walls in my grandparents' house. You know that kind of stuff. It's very kinesthetic for you. You've touched it, you've seen it, you've felt it, and it brings you back to a memory.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, a
Absolutely.
good one. So when
Absolutely.
did you begin to so you knew at 14, all right, this might be where I'm going. Did you immediately as an adult get into interior design or begin to build your portfolio? How did that work as a young creative?
I always like to draw. And obviously, art class for me was a lot of fun. Um, I definitely get my artistic abilities from my mom. My mom was also an interior designer, although was not one at the time. Uh, I decided when it was time to consider going to colleges, there was a little bit of a battle in my house as I wanted to go to school for fashion design. My father wanted me to go to school for cooking. I didn't realize at the time that I am equally as passionate about cooking as I am about fashion.
Wow.
I won the bet.
That's two creative
And
genes.
well, it all comes down to being creative. It all comes down to creativity. So whether you're doing a window display, which I got heavily involved in, or it didn't matter to me what I was doing as long as it was something that was creative. It didn't require too much math, so I was good.
So as you got old, as you began your career, what was it like getting the first paid client? I'm always fascinated because I think that's when people like breathe, and a lot of people don't know how to do that. They don't know how to take their creativity and make it into a business, whether it's fear or trepidation, or they just don't have the self-confidence. What was that like for you?
Well, it was very interesting because I was going to school for fashion design. So the trajectory and path that I thought I would follow would be into fashion design and going into the garment center in New York City. After being exposed to that environment, I thought they're going to eat me up, spit me out. And, I'm not a good enough liar. I can't keep a poker face. I just can't. As luck would have it, looking for a job in New York, there's always 10 other people behind you, equally as talented, experienced, and whatnot. It's a tough market to have a job in. I ended up working for a textile designer. And this gentleman designed the first non-flammable textiles to go on an airliner.
Wow.
And they hired me, and I went into their custom furniture department, and I thought, oh, still working with fabric, still being creative. And I'm working with an interior designer who lives on Park Avenue. Light bulb. This works for me. She's living a really nice lifestyle. I really got into it. I learned an education from that company that I took with me and just kept running with the ball. It wasn't until I finally went out on my own, which took a lot of courage. I did my first house here in Orlando. I literally sewed those draperies on my kitchen table.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, you really do have an eye for this. You really can do this. And believe me, the house was nothing special. It actually was quite a challenge. I hated the fabric. I really did not like the house at all. And when you're an interior designer and you're walking into someone else's house, it's my belief that you have to take on that house as if it's yours.
Yes.
Regardless of the furnishings, the color palette, I'm a perfectionist. And if I can't walk in and out of the door and feel comfortable about it, how can I expect a client to and pay for it?
Yes. So is that one of the biggest challenges you have with, because I can't even imagine some of the houses you must walk into, like the blank, it could be a blank canvas, or it could be, no, I need you to work with in the realm of what I have, Jamie. I mean, tell us a little bit about the process, because I think people think, oh, it's all billionaires or multi-trillionaires that have all this money and they don't care and they just tell Jamie to go forth and do good. You really do have a lot of negotiating and discussion, and but you have a way that you do it. You give choices. So tell them a little bit about the process.
Okay. Well, first of all, the misconception that every house has no budget, and every house is, thousands and thousands of square feet is simply a myth. It's really not true. You have to, for the most part, ask the right questions, pay attention to the answers, listen and look, see what's already going on in the space. Some people go from one room at a time, bonus from check to check. And other times, I mean, the dream client, of course, is no budget. And of course, I mean, I'm not going to lie. It doesn't happen very often. I'm doing it right now and I'm having a ball. So I am. But the end result is, and I tell this to all of my clients, for me, it's not about the money. I mean, of course, it is, but it's not. What it is for me is about making you happy.
Yeah.
At the
And you
end of
can
the
tell
day,
that.
nothing brings me more joy than to get in my car and start my car, and I'm leaving with a smile from ear to ear because I got it right. I got it right,
And I feel
and
like the way
that's
that you
that.
are with people, you're so engaging, but you're also you're a great listener, which I think as an interior designer you have to be. Um, what are some of the, and I love that about it because I think that's a personal touch. Again, back to people's common myths. I think that they feel like interior designers are all above reproach and it's this or the highway. And, you know, we've all seen the TV shows and it's not like that. You
Well,
really do bring all of your expertise to the table and then you guide people.
exactly.
You
Look,
guide.
it's a journey from start to finish,
Yeah.
and so whether they're walking into my showroom at the company at which I work at the moment, or you're walking into my playground and my home. So as a host, I want to make you feel as welcome as possible.
Yes.
Whether you're sitting down at my dining room table or you're walking into the showroom, it's all the same to me. And no one is more, let me stress this, whether you're spending $1,000 with me or you're spending $1,000,000 with me, you're going to be treated exactly the same way. I don't believe that the price of the home, the location of the home, differentiates it anywhere from whether it be Haines City or it be in Isleworth. It's all the same to me.
Yes. And I can attest to
Everyone is
that.
special.
You treat everyone that way, and I think that it's so important because you obviously have all your expertise you bring to the table, but you have also
Mhm.
have you have a confidence, but you also have a humility, which is really cool. It's a great combination, and I think to me that's why more people who may not have ever thought about entertaining or engaging with an interior designer would do so well working with you because of that combination.
Thank
You
you.
make people feel at ease, and I think
Thank
that's
you.
super important. And people feel listened to, and I think that's also super important. So I want to talk a little bit about fabrics and colors and things like that. Um, what are some of the what's trending now? Do you get it? First of all, do you get into
Mhm.
trending? Do you listen to trends? Is trending important, or are you more of a classic? Let's take some of the classic stuff because I have seen some nightmares. I was born around the time where there was crazy wood paneling in every room. Not that it's bad, it's just that was a different era. Or shag carpets were the big thing, and the crazy colors. I mean, the weird yellows and greens and all of that stuff. So, what's trending right now? What are some of the things that you're seeing right now?
I'm still seeing wallpaper done, believe it or not, in larger scale. Um, I'm still seeing accent walls being done. But I do see people leaning more towards clean lines. Absolutely. Um, uh, Mid-century modern still seems to be popular, but again, I think it appeals to a certain market. Now, there are those of us who remember everybody wants a white kitchen now, which cracks me up. Um,
I know.
well, it cracks me up because I'm old enough to remember when a white kitchen was all you got. You didn't have a choice.
You did not.
So, um, okay, white is great, but there are so many other options out there that I, it again, it's not about what I want. It's for me to make suggestions to you based on what you're telling me your wants, needs, and desires are. And then we go
So
from
I'll
there.
say things that I think are one of the things that I notice when I go into a house, and remember, I don't have any of that gift, but I can tell you that when I walk into a house and I see white walls and nothing on, like when I see nothing in a gorgeous house, and I've been in some beautiful, large homes, beautiful
Mhm.
homes, the lack of anything on the wall that is different from the next wall to the next wall is something I can notice right away. Maybe this is a personal preference, I do like to see things on the wall. I don't want to stare at a blank white wall the whole time.
Correct.
And
Correct.
so I'm amazed at how many people they're like, I've actually asked friends once I've had a cocktail or 10, said, well, why is it blank in here? They're like, no, we're minimalist, Ted. And so, of course, my comment to them, since they're my friends, is, well, that's just lazy. There's got to be something you can throw up there. You have no taste or no interest. So I think people get intimidated and then use words like minimalist because they haven't engaged a professional like you, and they don't want to say, well, I don't know how to decorate the wall, Ted. And I think that's where you
exactly
come
it.
in.
It's like hiding behind the curtain. Okay. No attention to that man behind the curtain. The minimalist is fine and grand. Okay. However, fear will keep people from moving forward. So I'll use a great room in terms and air quotes. Okay. Everybody wants a great room. Great. Problem is most people don't know how to decorate a great room to make it actually functional, because the reality of it is, in a great room you've got your kitchen in one corner, your dining room in another corner, and then your family room. You're never leaving that one box all day and all night.
Yeah.
So it's not quite as easy as it seems.
Yeah.
It really does take planning. And a lot of people have, okay, so I love when someone says to me, I have a really big house. Okay, do you have a floor plan? No. Okay, then let's make an appointment for me to come out and give you a consultation, because your idea of what a big house is and my idea of what a big house is are probably two different ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
I had someone telling me they had a big house. They told me the community that it was in. Then they told me where it was located. And I thought, those homes are really not as large as one would think, but it's all relative. Like, what were you coming from? What were you coming from? Okay. It's just as simple as that. So getting back to your question, as far as trends, I'll give maybe a wink and a nod, but I'm not making a heavy investment in it. And yes, shag rugs are still out there.
I've seen, I teach a class, a Realtor class, which I want to talk about as we begin to wrap up. But I teach a Realtor class, and it's the to-dos and not to-dos on your photos for a home. And I'm amazed at some of the photos that get put up. I'm like, I would not even, that would turn away everybody unless you happen to be into super ugly green and yellow shag carpet from 1970. Doesn't that tell you that it hasn't been updated in 50 years? So let's talk about
what I always find interesting, because not to interrupt you, but I do pay attention to that. I have a lot of friends that are realtors. So I'm always curious to scroll through some of the photos. And there are times where I just think, where's that next one? Because that's the one that's going to, I'm left with questions.
Yes.
More questions than answers.
Yes. And I think that is also where a lot of times, let's talk about realtors, because you have a referral program.
We do.
So talk about that, because I think realtors are also, like all of us, they could be intimidated by anyone from an interior design perspective, but they also want to be a resource to their selling, their listing, and their buyers. So tell them about the referral program you have.
Well, right now I am an in-house interior designer for Bears Furniture. I'm happy to say we've been around for over 78 years, so we've obviously got to be doing something right. And it's family owned and operated. What's nice about Bears is that it's definitely a step above. You are walking into a family environment as opposed to just going to a corporate furniture department store. But the realtor program that they have, which the way for a realtor to do this, they need to come in prior to bringing in their customer. They have to be a first-time customer. They need to fill out the realtor registration form, fill out a W-9, have a picture ID, and then they can take care of all of this with customer service in the back. The benefit for the realtor is that they get 3% of the sale. So it's definitely to their advantage. Bears Furniture is quality furniture. You're not only getting quality furniture, you're getting the company that stands behind it as well. You know, this is where you come to turn your house into a home.
Yes. That's exciting. When you told me about that, I loved every second of it, because I think that that is, again, it's a way for the realtor to be involved, to be a resource for their clients, which is what we all want to be. We want to be more than just our one little role in their world. We want to bring value, added value to them. And what a better way, especially in this day of white kitchens and beige, we want to be able to provide them a little more, which is a lot more when you go to Bear and you work with Jamie. And it's just such a great idea. And I loved it when we talked about it. Very recently, I just learned about it.
Well, I like working with realtors because there are times where the realtor obviously knows the buyer, and they know the property that they're going into, and they know that their tastes and what they have already got. So they can come into Bears and choose a multitude of high-end brands, quality brands, and it makes it a lot easier once there's a relationship already established.
Yes. All right, Jamie, I'm going to ask one last question and then we'll wrap it
Sure.
up. And you all can find Jamie at jamiek1216@gmail.com. He's on social media. Jamie K Designs is also on social media, and I'll have all of that hyperlinked so that you can just click on it. Is there any particular type of furniture, rug, wall, color that is just literally off limits to you, that you have no desire to work with? Is there anything where you walk in a house and you go, dear God in heaven, never, never in my design? Are you allowed to say that?
Personally, lavender. I just don't care for the color. It's not my idea of a good time. But again, it's not about what I like or don't like. If that's your thing, then we'll run with the ball. At the end of the day, my job is to make you happy.
That's awesome.
You know, I have a lot of repeat customers. I'm very blessed to say that come into Bears, and I've been working with these people for 25 years. There's a reason for that.
There's a reason for that. And again, I think it comes from your confidence, your creativity, and your humility, because you are very easy to talk to. And I think that's what is missing a lot of times when people are trying to build a relationship or learn more about how they can better their interior design. So I want you all to reach out to Jamie, jamiek1216@gmail.com. You can find him on social media. You can always reach out to me. But for my realtor friends, I would love to get you in touch with him to talk more about the Realtor Referral Program, which I think would be a great thing in this competitive market for you to have a little bit of an advantage on when you're working with your buyers and sellers, for sure. Jamie, thank you so much for your friendship. Thank you so much for being on the show. You are a joy to be around. He's just as amazing in person, y'all, as he is here. And if you have been looking for an interior designer, I want you to reach out to Jamie.
Thank you so much. You're simply the best.
Well, thank you. Thank you. All right, guys. Interior design, past, present, and future with the one and only Jamie Kalinsky. We'll see you guys soon. Bye, everybody.